Okay, so think about this for a second. Right now, on your skin, in your gut, there's a whole universe just teeming with life, a life that actually outnumbers your own cells. It's this hidden world that shapes pretty much everything, and today we're going to dive into its foundations, the science of microbiology.
I mean, it's a wild thought, isn't it? But here's the crazy part. In a lot of ways, it's totally true. We're talking about the oldest, most numerous forms of life on the entire planet. Get this. The total weight of all microbes on Earth is thought to be more than 25 times the weight of all animals combined. They really do run the show in ways we're just starting to wrap our heads around.
All right, so to get started, let's pull back the curtain on this invisible empire. What exactly are we talking about here? Let's get a clear definition.
So when you boil it all down, microbiology is the science of the super small. It's the study of life that exists just beyond what we can see with our own eyes. And this includes a whole cast of characters, bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, the whole lot. This field is all about figuring out how they're built, what they do, and the huge impact they have.
And I am not kidding when I say huge impact. These organisms are, and I mean this literally, everywhere. They're in the deepest parts of the ocean, on the highest mountains, in the dirt under your shoes. And yeah, trillions of them call your body home, so you're never, ever alone.
And this brings us to a really key point, kind of the two sides of the coin in the microbial world. For every nasty, disease-causing pathogen that we're right to be wary of, there are countless helpful microbes that we absolutely depend on to survive. We're talking about the ones in our gut that digest our food, or the ones in the soil that give us life-saving antibiotics. It really is a world of heroes and villains.
So, you might be wondering, how did we even find out about this invisible world in the first place? Well, it took some seriously brilliant and just plain curious people to start mapping out this brand new frontier of science.
And this timeline is like the highlight reel of microbiology. I mean, think about it. It all kicks off back in 1674 with a guy named Leeuwenhoek, just looking through a homemade microscope. That one little moment started this incredible chain reaction. You get Jenner figuring out the first vaccine, Pasteur proving life doesn't just spontaneously appear out of thin air, and then boom, Fleming accidentally discovers penicillin, which completely changes medicine forever. Just one discovery after another.
And I just love this quote from him. You can almost feel the awe, right? The pure astonishment he must have felt. He called them animalcules, little animals. He was the first person, the very first human being to ever lay eyes on this bustling, hidden world of life.
Okay, so seeing these little animals was one thing, but connecting them to our own lives, that was the next giant leap. And it was Louis Pasteur who really made that connection, and it completely reshaped medical history. I mean, before him, nobody really knew what caused disease. His germ theory of disease, it was a bombshell. The idea that these tiny, invisible invaders were the culprits behind specific illnesses, it changed absolutely everything. But a theory, no matter how brilliant, needs proof. Solid, hard proof. And that's where Robert Koch comes in. He developed this incredibly clever four-step method, Koch's postulates. You can really think of it like a detective's checklist. It was a way to prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that a specific microbe was the cause of a specific disease. This is what gave the germ theory its scientific backbone.
So once it was proven that this microbial empire actually existed, the next logical step was to start mapping it out. And the field just exploded into all these different specializations, with each one exploring a different corner of the microscopic world. And here are just a few of the big ones. You can think of them like the continents on that new map. You've got bacteriology, focusing on bacteria, virology, which tackles viruses, and these guys are so weird they kind of blur the line between living and not living. Then you have mycology for fungi, and immunology, which is all about figuring out the amazing army our own bodies use to fight all these invaders off. And believe me, each one of these is its own deep dive.
Let's take virology, for example. This whole field is dedicated to understanding these bizarre little things that aren't even technically alive. It's all about studying how they hijack our cells to make more of themselves, and of course, how we can stop them.
And then you've got immunology, which is kind of the response to all that, right? It's not just about studying the invader, it's about understanding the defense. This field dives deep into the unbelievably complex army of cells our bodies have, and how they identify and destroy these tiny threats.
So I know this can all sound a little bit academic, right? But the truth is, the influence of this invisible empire shapes pretty much every single part of our modern lives. So let's talk about the practical side of things. How does this actually affect you?
Seriously, just go look in your medicine cabinet. Every antibiotic you've ever taken, every vaccine, even just a simple disinfectant wipe. All of that comes directly from our understanding of microbiology. Our ability to fight infections and stop diseases in their tracks, it's all built on this science. And it's not just medicine. It's on your dinner plate, too. You love bread, cheese, yogurt? Well, you can thank the tiny microbes that fermented them. So yeah, microbiology gives us all these delicious foods, but it also gives us the tools to keep the dangerous stuff out of our food supply.
But the impact gets even bigger, like planetary scale. We can actually use specific microbes now to help clean up environmental messes, like oil spills. They're also absolutely critical for farming, pulling nitrogen right out of the air to make soil fertile. And they're basically the planet's recycling crew, breaking down everything and keeping the cycle of life going.
And this is where it gets into science fiction territory, but it's real. We've gone way beyond just watching microbes. Now we're actually programming them. We figured out how to use their own cellular machinery as these little tiny factories, churning out things like insulin, or editing genes with tools like CRISPR. And yeah, they're the power behind those diagnostic PCR tests we've all become so familiar with.
So when you put it all together, it's clear. From public health to the food on your table, this invisible world isn't just some scientific curiosity. It is a fundamental pillar that holds up our entire modern way of life.
Which really leaves us with one last huge question. We've harnessed these tiny life forms to cure diseases and literally rewrite biology. So, looking to the future, what's next? What other massive challenges? I'm talking climate change, maybe even space exploration. What could we solve if we partner up with this invisible world?